The smell of her intoxicating perfume wafted through the air, mingling with the rich, earthy aroma of beets roasting in the kitchen. A stunning, elegant white gown hugged every curve of her form, cascading down to the floor like morning light spilling into a darkened room. The soft glimmer of the chandelier cast cold, stark highlights over her figure, creating an ethereal halo that adorned her, a juxtaposition against the deep crimson wine in my hand. I stood there, frozen in time, gripping the stem of the glass tightly enough to feel the sharpness of the punishment it could inflict. The clinking of crystal and the hushed laughter of our friends, oblivious to the battlefield we had turned this evening into, buzzed in the background like a slow electric hum. My heart raced, each beat synchronized with the unwelcome reminder of betrayal that wrapped around me like a suffocating shroud. I could see him, across the extravagant ballroom, enveloped in a warm embrace, sharing a joke too intimate behind that forced smile. He looked as if he was having the time of his life with his special guest, who wore that innocent smile, as if to mock me with every word uttered softly into his ear. I remembered the painstaking nights spent building the empire he now flaunted. I had sacrificed everything, my youth, my dreams. Countless evenings swept away while I pored over spreadsheets and plans. The taste of instant ramen lingers in my memory, reminding me of the days when we shared a cramped one-bedroom apartment while he mapped out goals to reach for the stars, our plates filled with nothing more than wishful ambition. "I'm doing this for us," he had said with a glint in his eye, as I tucked away my own aspirations for a future that now felt like a cruel trick played by fate. The laughter erupted again, echoing in my ears like the final nail in the coffin of my patience. I took a deep breath, the aroma of expensive perfume sickly sweet, mingling with the sharp tang of the fine Bordeaux pooling beneath my fingertips. My stomach churned in disgust, and I felt my breath hitch at the sight of his hands lingering too long on her waist. The tranquility I had tried to muster shattered like glass beneath the weight of the truth I was forced to confront. The day the mask fell from his face was the day I realized our love had morphed into a cold transaction. And then, the pivotal moment arrived. The world moved in slow motion as I stared at the glass in my grip, the ruby liquid reflecting a twisted version of reality. My heart clamored to be heard, thoughts spiraling like a vortex as clarity washed over me in that fleeting whisper of vindication. I took a tentative step closer, my face a mask of serenity, but every nerve ending aflame with rage. "Cheers!" I called out, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. The crowd turned as I tilted the glass, pretending to offer a toast, and in one fluid motion, the glass slipped from my fingers, shattering against the chilled marble floor, before erupting in a splatter of scarlet that painted her pristine gown. A collective gasp filled the room, a quick silence that drew the curtains on their laughter and spotlighted my betrayal. In a blink, the tension was palpable, thick, sickening. She shrieked, the sound echoing across the pristine hall and causing the air to still momentarily. All eyes fell on the spectacle, the embodiment of my fury unleashed. I watched as the deep wine flowed down her dress, staining the fabric like the sins of the past. Her face shifted from shock to fury, eyes stumbling with disbelief as she looked at me, a powerful, radiant gaze that felt like ice daggers driven into my flesh. "Are you out of your mind?" she snarled, fury knitting her brow as she carefully considered the mess I had created. "Honey, it was an accident," I said sweetly, layering sarcasm beneath a veneer of faux concern that dripped with delight. "Seems your dress was a little too white for this affair." Anger etched deeply into her features. Her once charmed smile evaporated to reveal a raw rage that I had only witnessed in fleeting glimpses before. She planted her hands on her hips, twisting her body away to reveal the sight of her perfect dress, now a canvas of mingling shades of regret. The collective focus of the guests landed on us, the scorned wife and the mortal sinner, as silence wrapped around us like a second skin. I felt alive. My chest swelled with an intoxicating mix of adrenaline and defiance, clashing against the pain of betrayal I had continued to swallow quietly. And then, from the corner of my eye, I caught sight of him, the bastard I once adored, his expression a medley of confusion and fear. The dam had broken, and this spectacle had only just begun. The murmurs of the crowd swelled with expectant curiosity, a sea of questioning gazes drawn towards the unfolding drama like moths to a flame. "Well, let's address the elephant in the room, shall we?" I planned an unsteady advance toward him, a mixture of power and uncertainty guiding my steps. With every stride, I could feel the throbbing pulse of the gathering crowd, their intent laser-focused on this improbable battlefield. How naive of them to think the evening would simply go on as planned. How ignorant to believe everyone would leave without seeing my revenge unfold. He attempted to rise from the stupor of shock, shuffling toward me but remaining vigilantly a few steps behind her. The mild panic in his plea was only eclipsed by the wild satisfaction igniting within me as I turned to the crowd, my voice smooth and steady, despite the rapid beating of my heart. "They may think I'm drowning in betrayal," I proclaimed, letting the words roll off my tongue like silk. But in truth, I'm finally swimming toward the surface. The air thickened once again with tension, and I could see the audience leaning in, drinks suspended mid-air, as anticipation thickened like fog. The facade of their normalcy deflated, revealing the nudity of their hollow convictions, the lies they wove into the fabric of their identities, merging into zesty exchanges and gossip-laden narratives. I felt a ferocious strength course through my veins, igniting my spirit with a fire that had long been smothered beneath layers of sacrifice and betrayal. In the rush of it all, it became exceedingly clear. This wasn't just an accident with a glass of wine. This was the culmination of years of sacrifice and silence, the painful understanding that here, now, I had the reins. In that moment of pure clarity, I knew that the mask he wore for the world had slipped, shaken to its core. The audience silently questioned what the future would hold, hanging on to my next move as the room glimmered around us like a star-dusted sky, ready for my next act. And as I stared directly at him, those bright eyes of innocence turned to embers of guilt. I knew, if you thought tonight was disastrous, just wait until the next chapter of betrayal unfolds. If you want to see how this wife destroys the traitor, subscribe now. The evening shifted like a tide, and while the initial shock of my small act of rebellion lingered in the air like expensive perfume, the reality of what came next cloaked me in an inescapable darkness. The clinking of glasses fell away to serve the backdrop of whispered doubts and frightened glances. It was as if the universe held its breath, the tension so thick it clung to my skin, a second layer of fabric against the pristine silk of my gown. He stared at me, his eyes narrowing, the moment stretching into infinity as the luxurious folds of the ballroom dissolved into a distant memory. The buzzing of whispered conversations and the soft rustling of silk dresses draped elegantly over gleaming chandeliers faded into a cacophony of disbelief. My reality became skewed, a fog that enveloped my mind. I held my ground, but inside, I felt flooded with uncertainty, a storm threatening to break. If I had only known then how insidious betrayal could weave itself into the tapestry of my life. I began to doubt my own memories, even as I clung to them, threads of our past unraveling like the delicate threads of the dress I wore, so easily torn, yet so intricately beautiful. "Are you really going to make a scene like this?" he finally stammered, his voice dripping with a blend of anger and desperation that should have ignited my resolve, but instead seeped in like poison. "You've lost it. You're mad. Everyone can see that." His attempt at gaslighting unfolded before me, a manipulative dance that painted my actions as reckless and untamed. The weight of his words hung in the air, heavy as the deep red wine stains pooling at her feet. "Am I mad?" I whispered to myself, my internal dialogue warping into a chaotic repetition, the very thought buzzing like a fly trapped between glass and windowsill. Maybe I am. I looked around, searching the mirrored surfaces of the ornate walls for some glimmer of understanding, a reflection of my own sanity in those polished frames. Friends watched, eyes flickering back and forth, some excited, some smugly entertained, while others showed glimmers of concern. Worry twisted those soft faces, but they remained curiously silent, contributing to the echoing doubts brewing inside me like an uproarious tempest. Just as my breath trembled beneath the weight of his accusation, a fierce warmth brushed against my arm, a familiar presence that reached for me in the chaos. It was Andrea, a friend turned confidant, her eyes locking onto mine with unwavering resolve and a fierce determination that made my heart leap. "Let's get out of here," she murmured, her voice a soothing balm amid the confusion. "You need a break, not just from this horrible display, but from him." Her words wrapped around me like a warm hug on a winter's day. I nodded, letting her guide me away from the muted stares and masked judgment, retreating to a quieter corner, an out-of-the-way alcove adorned with rich velvet curtains and softly lit sconces that cast a comforting glow like fireflies gathering for a secret meeting. In that sheltered space, the fragrance of lilac mingled with something deeper, cigar smoke, perhaps from those whispered conversations that spiraled into the walls of the ballroom. The low hum of laughter still echoed around us, but here, Andrea's presence was an anchor, pulling me back to reality. "Listen," she said gently, squeezing my shoulder reassuringly. "You need to put the pieces together. This isn't just an embarrassing moment. It's a glimpse into something far deeper. What he's doing. It's not just about her. He's been playing you for years." The grip of my heart tightened. "But I don't understand. I can't believe it. What are you saying?" The frightful echo of denial washed over me, like the residue of fine Merlot clinging to the inside of a glass. "Think, my friend," she urged, her voice a soft yet powerful reminder of everything I had brushed beneath the surface. "Do you really think he'd trade the life you've built together for some fleeting affair? No. This runs far deeper. He's lying to you. He's gaslighting you to keep the truth hidden." The clarity reflected in her eyes ignited a match deep within me, a small spark kindling the ashes of loss and betrayal. I needed answers, proof, and suddenly, in the stillness of this alcove, I resolved to become a silent observer in my own life. I would gather evidence, not just for my own sanity, but for the eruption of truth I felt bubbling beneath the surface. I need means to confront him, to understand fully. "We'll start with the smallest details," Andrea encouraged, her tone outlining a plan that drew powerful energy from the darkness. Bank statements, phone records, social media, anything that might expose him. That night, surrounded by silk and whispers of betrayal, I immersed myself in the task of unearthing the truth. I retraced steps long forgotten. The enchanting world we had built together, once a shiny palace, now lay in crumbling disarray. Days turned into nights as I scoured the labyrinth of our shared existence. I learned to move silently through the towering walls of our home. Down the dim-lit hallways where shadows danced with memories, I became a collector of small truths. My fingers brushed against pages filled with spent receipts and old photographs, each an echo of a time more innocent than the time I was currently living. The scent of dust choked me as I buried myself in cabinets and drawers, hunting for evidence like a determined detective in a forgotten crime scene. Each piece I uncovered deepened the pit of betrayal festering in my gut. A series of transactions, cash withdrawals at odd hours, a calendar marked with untraceable appointments, countless texts that left me breathless in their seduction of deceit. There were whispers of love, messages buried beneath mundane work conversations, smothered under layers of their clandestine rendezvous. My pulse quickened with each discovery, amplifying the waves of desperation ripping through me. The thrill of finding something tangible gripped my veins like a caffeine high that fueled my resolve to piece together the story woven in shadows. "Look at this," I muttered, sharing fragments with Andrea over coffee in the small hours, the bitter taste sharp against our tongues, yet comforted by the warmth of our camaraderie. "He takes money out consistently but never mentions it. It's like pulling threads, and they're weaving into something bigger." Her response was both a soothing balm and a forceful impetus. "This is only the beginning. You're unmasking him piece by piece. Don't let your doubts cloud your vision." But uncertainty lingered. There were nights when the frantic jingling of messages would sound in the dark, and I would find myself questioning every action, every word that slipped from his lips. Was I really losing my grip on reality? Perhaps I was the one going mad, and he was the only constant, my anchor amid the chaos. Those moments were fleeting, crippling, but Andrea's voice lingered like an echo against steel, reminding me to keep going. I continued to peel back layers of deceit, digging deeper as I sifted through the fashionable clutter of receipts, bank statements, and phone records. I unearthed photographs revealing a different narrative, ones of smiles not meant for me, hands intertwined somewhere I wasn't invited. Weeks passed, the pull of the evidence becoming almost tangible, a fortress against my crumbling doubt. Each piece I uncovered solidified my resolve, yet I found myself trembling at the thought of what came next. What would happen when the pieces became a full mosaic of truth? Would he become the monster I feared, or was I merely hunting shadows? And as truth turned its gaze towards me, every night I lay awake, locked in the throes of hatred and love. I knew I had to prepare for the unveiling, the confrontation of a lifetime. But even as resolve hardened, my heart fluttered in the remnants of love I once held dearly. The war waged silently, and I, a spy in my own life, became both the witness and the accuser, eagerly gathering my arsenal for the inevitable clash awaiting in the darkened hallways of my own making. The wait would not be long now. Truth was knocking at the door, and I intended to answer. And when I did, nothing would ever be the same again. The night of our 30th anniversary dawned with an air of unforeseen expectations. Everything was meticulously arranged. The lavish banquet hall draped in opulent white silk, accented by clusters of deep red roses, their intoxicating fragrance mingling with the scent of vanilla-scented candles, flickering lazily on polished mahogany tables. Each flicker seemed alive, a whispered secret that danced in the light, masking the gravity of what was to come. I had orchestrated this event with the precision of a conductor guiding a symphony, crafting every detail to lull my unsuspecting guests into a false sense of security. Laughter floated through the air, an unknowing distraction that shielded them from the storm swirling just beneath the surface. The gentle hum of conversation mixed with the soft clinking of crystal, an orchestral backdrop to the complex web I had woven. And then, of course, there was her. Mill, draped in a gown so white that it seemed to glow under the careful attentions of the overhead lights. The stark contrast of her pristine dress against the soft dark oak of the tables felt like a deliberate taunt. It beckoned to me as I watched her move through the crowd with a confidence I had once admired, but now loathed. She intermingled with my guests, basking in a false halo of radiance, whispering sweet nothings as she poked at the very foundation of my life. Sometimes the burden of wearing a mask in a room full of people feels almost unbearable, but I was determined to endure. I had become an expert in hiding the truth, wearing my poker face while strategically gathering my evidence like a detective, piecing together a long, cold case. Today, in that moment, my heart began to steady, fixating on the role I had chosen. As the evening progressed, wine flowed freely, a deep red liquid swirling in delicate glasses, clinking against an upbeat melody that played in the background, an ironic soundtrack to the drama brewing around us. The raw taste of rich Merlot lingered on my tongue, a perfect pairing to the tension filling the air like heated mist. I felt the anticipation crawl beneath my skin, raising the hairs on my arms with a thrilling excitement. Soon I would rise from the tables laden with overindulgence to take the microphone, to brandish truth like a weapon forged in betrayal. This wasn't merely about poetry or a charming toast to celebrate the years of marital bliss. No, it was the public execution of my husband and his mistress, a meticulous reveal of their lies that would shake this crowd and sever their grasp on any remaining illusion. The moment approached so fast it felt unreal. Andrea stood next to me, her eyes sparkling with encouragement while she surveyed the room, a sentinel watching over the chaos that was about to unfold. I could hear the laughter, the clattering of silverware, the melodic notes interlapping, chords struck in a harmonious distraction. It was perfect. Everyone would be completely unaware of the shifting ground beneath them. "May I have your attention, please?" I finally called, my voice taking on a resonant clarity that cut through the ambient noises like a knife through silence. Instantly, curious gazes swiveled towards me, the hum of chatter subsiding into a hush, heavy with anticipation. I felt the power ripple through the space, the energy thrumming like the beats of a war drum. The eyes that had once belonged to friends morphed into a collective audience, judging, awaiting my next words with bated breath. "Tonight, we celebrate not just love and longevity," I began, my tone velvet smooth but edged with steel, "but the revelations that have brought me here, standing before you, ready to unveil the truth." I could sense the murmurings ripple through the crowd, confusion cloaking their faces like a fog rolling in. I embraced my rising confidence, beckoning them closer into the firestorm I was about to unleash. To the man I've shared 30 years of my life with, to the one I built a life alongside, I acknowledge your courage in convincing everyone that love can bloom in the shadows as well. Their expressions morphed. First bewilderment, then shock as realization began to dawn. My heart thumped furiously, a wild animal desperate to escape, as I caught sight of his face, a mixture of disbelief and concern, flashing briefly before they settled into a mask of contempt. From behind me, Andrea reached into the depths of her purse and retrieved the evidence I had so painstakingly gathered. "I have some friends I'd like you all to meet," I continued, my voice carrying the weight of the accusations that hung in the air. I presented the first document, a screenshot of text messages filled with honeyed words meant for another, crafted into a false narrative of love. The room held its breath, sounds muted beneath the weight of suspension. "Here's a lovely exchange discussing plans for a romantic dinner," I said, my words enunciated as if I were savoring the taste of bitter victory. "From a time I thought he was on a business trip." The words brought a silent gasp from the gathered crowd, echoes of disbelief rippling across the polished floorboards beneath my feet. Each piece after that sent shockwaves through the audience, the bank statements reflecting withdrawals that threw into stark relief the financial treachery lurking beneath the surface. Mill's pristine smile faltered as she saw truths unravel before her. I reveled in the dawning horror on their faces, the wall of sanctity around their deception crumbling before my eyes. "You were easier to catch than I anticipated," I went on, watching as my husband shifted uneasily, glancing toward Mill for support that never materialized. "Let's showcase a few more moments for you all." The next screenshot displayed not only their lines of flirtation, but also a picture of stolen kisses in hotel bathroom mirrors, a captured instance of their affair that danced mockingly across the screen, erupting gasps and murmurs from my shaken audience. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Did you think this life of deceit would ever remain hidden? I venomously pondered, and the visceral silence that followed reverberated against the ornate walls, rebounding like the steady thrum of impending doom. Mill's face contorted from roguish confidence to panic, her mouth opening and closing like she was trying to grasp at breath, the whiteness of her gown now an ironic contrast to the crimson heart that I was all too eager to exploit. "I've become a collector of lies, a harbinger of the truth," I said, my voice ringing clear as the weight of the crowd's expectations became palpable. "You both hope to celebrate the lies in silence, but tonight belongs to the truth, a reality you can no longer escape." I turned toward him fully, the fury that had kept me alive for far too long channeling into one undeniable voice. "Would you have waited this long?" I asked the crowd, reveling in their collective murmurings, their hushed whispers of solidarity and disbelief shifting behind me. It seemed my words ignited an ember in their hearts, the sentiment sweeping through like wildfire. "Would you have accepted betrayal cloaked with sweet promises?" No, I refused to be the villain of this tale any longer. The room was ripe with uncomfortable energy. Those once gilded friendships now fell to pieces around me. Here, in this shared space, I had summoned the truth, and in doing so, I allowed my own resurrection. The silence transformed, burgeoned, and expanded into a cacophony of emotions, heartfelt apologies mixed with astonished disbelief. I felt alive. The adrenaline coursed through me, lighting a fire on the battleground of emotions as their world began to collapse. And watching the panic rise like smoke in their eyes, I knew my revenge was unfurling beautifully, a delicate dance of justice made all the more potent in a setting layered with indulgence. Even as Mill's face turned pale under the weight of recognition, and even as my husband stuttered words of denial, the walls echoed through laughter born of vindication, each boom resonating like a heavy bass drum heralding the end of deceit. The truth I had painstakingly pieced together slowly extinguished their facade, wearing it like thin tissue paper. And when the final remnants of their laughter faded, swallowed by the bitterness of shame, I stepped away from the mic, feeling vindicated in my orchestration of this public execution that now bore witness to their betrayal. I allowed myself a brief moment to soak in the aftermath, a communion of fallout that buzzed with life, each painful truth liberating me from chains long wrought by love's frailty. As I stepped back into the vibrant earth-toned tapestry of the now bustling banquet hall, I understood. I was no longer just the victim. I was the architect of this exquisite destruction. The wine stain I had cast upon Mill's gown had blossomed into something monumental, and in its glow, I found my rebirth. The night was far from over, yet with each passing moment, I felt the heartbeat of possibility thrumming in my chest. The audience's collective gasp was the overture to a new beginning. What melodies awaited me next, I couldn't yet tell, but standing here, in the magnificent chaos of it all, I had never felt more alive. Would you have waited this long? Tell me in the comments. Each sunrise after that fateful night seemed to unblock the truth hidden beneath layers of betrayal, each dawn painting the skyline in shades of renewal. 6 months later, as I sipped my morning coffee, a bright, rich brew that filled the room with its heady aroma, my world had transformed entirely, and I reveled in the fragrant blossoms of my rebirth. The image of Mill's shocked face as the wine cascaded over her pristine gown, a cruel and exquisite masterstroke on my part, flashed through my mind like a cinematic moment captured forever. In the distance, the soft chirping of birds punctuated the air, a soundtrack to my liberation that mingled effortlessly with the gentle clinking of mugs and the sound of coffee beans grinding in the cafe below, a sweet melody of fresh beginnings. I had come to love how mornings unfurled with promise, each day a blank page upon which I penned my new narrative, the pages crisp and inviting against my fingertips. Meanwhile, echoing across the street sprawled the remains of my husband's life, once resplendent behind a facade of charm and financial success. I'd made the right calls, and had, through sheer determination and tenacity, managed to secure my position both in the community and in business, investing shrewdly, recalibrating my social circle, and investing in relationships that bore fruit. Just last week, a business deal I had negotiated brought a wave of lucrative contracts my way, infusing me with newfound wealth. The air shimmered with heady possibility as I watched my bank balance soar. I had thrived on my own, a tenacious phoenix rising from the ashes of my past, built on the pragmatic understanding that triumph often came intertwined with sacrifice. Yet just beyond this horizon of newfound glory lay shadows, remnants of my former life. My husband and the woman who dared play the role of my adversary now subsisted in bitterness. Time spun the web of consequences like a delicate spider's silk, transforming into a menagerie of what-ifs. When the last of my husband's true nature was revealed, it felt as though the universe had conspired to craft his downfall. Their encounter, after the evening of the revelation, had spiraled downhill. The rift I created had shattered their mirage of happiness, and soon after my magnificent display of betrayal. My husband, drowning in shame, had frivolously waved goodbye to a substantial portion of his income, while struggling to reinvent himself amid the chaos I'd unleashed. His attempts to salvage his dignity were like flailing limbs grasping for air, each grasp a testament to his waning glory. 6 months later, he toiled in the bowels of a small grocery store, stocking shelves among dubious characters who barely acknowledged his former status. The aroma of processed cheese wheezed through the aisles, a grim reminder of the path that led him to his current predicament. He wore the defeat on his face like a second skin. Wrinkles became etched from nights spent wrestling with the demons of his choices, their weight undeniable. He had lost it all, his lavish lifestyle flashing before him like a mirage, with every moment of wasted opportunity haunting him relentlessly. And what of Mill? How delicate and fragile she looked when faced with the brutal aftermath of our encounter. The high-status job she initially landed, secured through connections made from my former social circle, disintegrated when her own deception came stumbling to the light. The delicious tang of her ambition turned sour when it was revealed she had only thrived on the coattails of the financial successes I built alongside my now ex-husband. Her strategic moves crumbled like an underbaked soufflé when the whispers of scandal echoed through the halls of their employer, and soon the only job left for her was a minimum wage position at a boutique store not far from the gloomy grocery store. The air mingled with scents of cheap fabric and the synthetic sweetness of potpourri wafting through the aisles, each perfume a reminder of the innocence she shattered with her presence. I reveled in the knowledge that, while I basked in beauty and financial success, she once cloaked in silk and abundance, now stood amid the mundane chaos, surrounded by politeness turned to scorn as the local gossip clung to her like a suffocating fog. Reports filtered back to me through the networks I had carefully preserved, and for once, I delighted in the perfumed whispers of the community as they shared snippets of news surrounding the misfortune that followed them. Jaded laughter punctuated the very tales of failure, shattering the last vestiges of their charm. Even the once adoring friends quickly lost interest in Mill, her name now almost synonymous with disgrace, the ember of scandal's Sicilian-born truth that always resurfaced. As the world narrowed around them like a vice, I continued to flourish. Seeking empowerment became a lifestyle, a practiced manifesto that echoed through every move I made. Renewing my connections infused life into friendships long forgotten. Celebrations surrounded me, the nurturing perfume of blooming lilacs enveloping gatherings filled with warmth and laughter, redefining my very essence of being, full of color, hope, and intoxicating dreams. Friends rallied around, lifting me from the shadows. This community was my fortress, its solidarity a beautiful tapestry woven from the threads of shared experiences and desires. In stark contrast, the loneliness consumed him, the depths darker than I could have ever imagined. I pictured him, half-heartedly picking up vines of wildflowers lining the pavement leading to his deserted grocery store, wistfully wishing for the life that had slipped through his fingers, shattered like glass beneath the cool marble of the ballroom, with wine flickering like forgotten hearts. And yet, through it all, I thrived, shedding the burdens of my past and donning an aura imbued with effulgence. The profound stress of deception waned, replaced by the radiant energy of my own endeavors. Beauty blossomed not just in experience, but in my own reflection. A subtle shift marked the brilliance in my complexion, my skin glowing with an inner light, radiating vitality that turned heads and drew admiration effortlessly. While they slogged through their penance, cemented in a world eclipsed by disgrace, the universe continued to conspire for me. I was in love with life, propelled by victories forged through suffering. With a musical whisper, the universe hinted at new opportunities dancing like flickers of starlight in my periphery. A sudden business venture perched on the brink of flourishing within a flourishing startup scene. The business gala was on the horizon, one of those lavish affairs I longed to attend, each element painstakingly curated, an opportunity to expand my empire and awaken dormant ambitions. And as the evening brewed closer, anticipation surged through my veins like a reviving cocktail, foaming and fizzing with nostalgia. I couldn't wait to arrive in my finest, a sheath of shimmering blues and greens designed to turn heads, a tribute to my journey, reflecting not only my wealth, but the resilience woven into my very soul. It was time for me to reclaim my story, to remind the world that even in the depths of despair, you could rise with a roar and emerge anew, as powerful as a spring bloom. And while I savored the taste of victory, the curtain drew back, revealing a new chapter. As I left the intimate embrace of my peaceful existence behind, I couldn't shake the delightful thought of what awaited beyond, what follies might play out within the conspiring tides of life. Preparation felt tangible, an electrifying charge coursing through my limbs, but something deeper lay beyond, an insatiable curiosity buzzing with whispers of secret vendettas yet to unfold. In the quietude, I could almost hear the echoes of bones grating against each other, a dawning reminder that the past might not be as sealed as I had hoped. While I dappled in success, uncertainties awaited at the fringes, and perhaps there was another story that called to be told. And just like that, I felt beckoned to dive into new depths. A call resounded, and the universe, with its enticing allure, insisted I uncover the next maze, the next adventure. Who knew what awaited me in the shadows of forgotten tales? If you think you've seen it all, wait until you hear the story of the husband who tried to fake his death. The stage was only just set for more drama, and I couldn't wait to see how it would unfold.